to Worth More Than Rubies, where we talk all things faith, friendship, girlhood, and everything in between. I'm Alice.
And I'm Ava. We're so excited to finally be getting this podcast out for you all. And we're going to be starting with something Alice and I both struggle with, which is creating New Year's resolutions that will actually stick. So we're going to be going through a series called Rethinking Resolutions.
I'm so excited about this because this is something I've struggled with so long. And at the time we're recording this, we're December 30th, so right before New Year's Eve. So actually, I'm going to need to put what we talked about into actions while I'm forming my goals. So I feel like something we struggle with so much is we start the new year off, we're like, okay, we're going to hit this hard. We're going to go, like, the amount of lists I made, I have like 25 things on my list. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do all these things. And probably like 5 of them end up getting done. And I've noticed that a lot of times the things, actually, okay, I'm going into it a little too fast.
No, yeah, I'm on the same page. I feel like New Year's resolutions is something I'm always so excited about, but then I never actually stick to them by like March. So,
Exactly.
so hopefully this will help us more than anyone. Yeah. Okay. I think something that I've kind of taught myself or made myself learn and appreciate is that like God doesn't care as much about where we get to and how many check marks we cross off as much as like just the heart behind it and who we become in the process.
Right.
I think like if our goals are kind of postured towards him and fulfilling his will for us and like just doing godly things, I guess, he'll like kind of take care of the rest. And it's okay if I don't, read the Bible every single day for 365 days or pray for 5 hours or work out every day at 5 a.m.,
Right. I know. I think that idea of like heart posture is really important because I think like when you have this goal in mind it's in your heart, it's like, I'm doing this to glorify God. It doesn't really matter like how far you get into it, as long as that's constantly your goal and you're working closer to it, in the background of it is to glorify God. And when it's in that case and you bring it to God, and if it's in his will, like he'll deliver on it, Yeah. Like he'll help you out.
Yeah. And I think like just going into everything with gratitude is so important. I feel like when I make goals, it becomes so much like a chore. Like, oh my gosh, I have to wake up at 5 a.m. tomorrow because I told myself I'm going to work out and I'm going to read my Bible and I'm going to like be this perfect person. But it's like, oh my gosh, thank God I have a body to be able to work out and lift weights and whatever. Or thank God I have the energy to get up even when I don't have a ton of energy, Thank God I have the legs to get me out of bed. Like it's so much focusing on the little things, I feel like.
I know. It's because, like, I feel like when I start my day just with that idea of gratitude, it's like, wow, like, I woke up this morning. Like, little things like that, and then I'm here, like, complaining about something that, like, makes no sense. I'm like, oh, like, I have nothing to eat, whatever. But then it's like, when you change, like, that shift in focus to, like, I feel like you're willing to do so much more. You're willing to put so much effort, and you're like, wow, like, God really gave me this much, and I need to take advantage of it,
Yeah, 100%. And I think, like, goals don't have to be as complicated as we make them.
Right.
Like, I realized that so much this year because I went into it with, like, this long list, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe I don't need to do all of that. Like, I just need to, like, be a decent person and, like, take care of myself. And I think, like, just starting with, like, in Romans 12:2, Paul says, renew your minds daily. And I think just every day, waking up and being like, okay, for example, if my goal is to be able to run a 5K by the end of the year, I can be like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm going to walk 0.5 of a mile. And then the next week or day or whatever, I'm going to walk a mile or I'm going to jog that 0.5 of a mile. Just baby steps. I've heard so many like researchers talk about getting 1% better every day. Right. And by the end of the year, you'll be 365% better, So I think like just taking those baby steps is such a big part of just kind of becoming a better person and growing.
I think that's so important. Like, I feel like, again, like when we go in with this idea of New Year's resolutions, we're like, okay, I'm going to do all this and I'm going to do this big thing. I'm going to start it in January and I'm going to do it throughout the entire year. But it's like, I think it's just as important, even if you completely fulfill that goal by December 31st, like the night before the year after. Like if you're working towards it, and again, back to that idea of like heart posture, like that's constantly your goal, you're constantly thinking about it. And I think another important thing too, and we'll touch more on this later, is like, it's okay, like one day if something doesn't happen, like it's okay, like get back on it the next day, because if you are so caught up in that failure, like you're not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah. And I think like I am such a perfectionist, and it's like my weakest point. So like literally if I keep using like working out, but it's just like the easiest thing. Like if I am gonna run those 3 miles and I don't wake up the next day and run that 0.5 mile whatever, like I'm gonna beat myself up and I'm gonna be like, okay, this whole goal is like pointless. But it's like I'm never gonna get anywhere if I don't stop and forgive myself.
Right. Like you should be okay with that failure and use it to help you as you move forward.
Yeah,
I think that's really
exactly.
Okay. I think now we can move on to kind of more like practical tips, because we're saying, okay, it's okay to fail, your heart should be in this place, but then it's like, okay, well, how do we actually do that? We kind of touched on it, the idea of like, okay, like each day you go in, the idea of gratitude, and you like work on that moving forward. I think something really important, because actually I finished the end of this year and I looked back at my goals and I was like, wow, like I didn't follow any of these things and I hadn't even like opened them at all. So I think even if you have it like on your lock screen or something like that, to where you can open it up every day and see them, like I think that's really important, because then you're constantly just reminded. And I also did this thing where I made a vision board, so I went on Pinterest and I got all the photos. I like when things are like aesthetic, like I'm a lot more encouraged to go through with them. So I had this board, I put my quotes, and then every day I wake up and I can look at this vision board and I'm like, okay, this is what I want my life to look like. This is what I want moving forward. And it just constant little reminders, which really helped me get through the day.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm like all about aesthetics, which is like good and bad. But I think just making it something you want to look at helps so much.
Right.
And something that, like you said, like, you're constantly reminded of, whether it's your lock screen or even like I have it just saved on my desktop, on my laptop. Or even if you want to like make one, I'm not artsy like that, but if you want to make one like on paper, I think that's really good, because then it's like, I don't know, like, have you heard of like that thing where you're like more likely to remember something that like you write down on paper?
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe that'll help.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just about, again, like I think it all comes back to the little things and just constantly reminding yourself and pushing yourself, not overboard, but you know, a healthy amount.
Then I think another thing that's really important is when you look at your goals, because we were saying before, like, oh, don't make it some like crazy detailed unrealistic goal, but I think it is good to like keep it realistic, but then also it's good if you specify. Like I think number amounts are really important, or even the way you're gonna approach something every day, or you're like, I want to do more service, so I can say I'll do some research on different places, a food bank, something like that. And then I can do my research, look it up, just look at the hours. Maybe I'll go somewhere once a month, somewhere different every month. Once you like actually quantify and you're ready to go in, then I think that's really helpful.
Yeah, and I think that goes into the whole idea of SMART goals. So for anyone who doesn't know, SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable or attainable, relevant, and time bound. So like, let's say my goal is to, I keep using fitness. Let's use something else. Let's use something else. Let's say my goal is to be a kinder person to my sister. Instead of, you know, be a kinder person or be a better sister or whatever, it can be make 1 hour every other Saturday. I was gonna say every Saturday is a little hard, but every other Saturday where I just sit and play with her or whatever. That way it's like, okay, did I do that or did I not? I can't measure like, was I a good sister today? Like, I don't know.
I like that. I like that example a lot. Another thing that I found super helpful. Okay, back to aesthetics.
We love aesthetics here.
It encourages me so much. But I don't know if you've heard of it. There's this website called Notion where you can set everything up. I put little quotes at the top, fun little fonts, and that's where I place my goals. Then what I found really helpful too was making a list of things hanging over my head. I feel like constantly we have like this bearing. Everybody's so busy. We all have so much going on. So once you make this list of like, okay, here's what I have, like, because when it's all in your head, you're like, wow, this is so much, like, I don't want to approach anything.
Yeah.
But then once you quantify and like once you put it down, like number it off, check boxes, and like the feeling once you like check one thing off the list and you like keep checking off, you're like, okay, wait, maybe I don't need to be this overwhelmed. Like maybe it's not that bad. And you look at it in front of you, you're like, wait, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
I think that's really helpful.
No, yeah, I love that. I'm gonna use that this year. One of the many things I say I'm gonna use, and then hopefully I actually use them. I use another tool that also helps kind of tone things down and like put it in front of my face. It's an app called Todoist, and it's basically like your simple to-do list. You can put a bunch of tasks, and what's really cool about it is they have this feature, I don't know what it's called. I think it's like, basically you just ramble all of your tasks. And I use this for like long-term and short-term goals. And you can say like, okay, go get the groceries on Wednesday and go do my homework on Tuesday. And for no day, I want to, I don't know, be better at running or whatever. I just gave an example.
Take up running.
I know. I'm really like. I know. No, I was in track at one point, but then that didn't last long. I don't know what my obsession is with exercise this podcast, but no, but you can like ramble everything and say dates, and it'll automatically input it for those dates, those times, like in your to-do list. So it's like the reminders app basically, but it has that feature, so it's nice and convenient.
Eva told me about this app a couple days ago, and I tried it last night, and I was like, this is so cool. Like, this is exactly what I needed.
Yeah, I need to put more people on. It's really good.
Now we're putting all you on.
Yeah.
It's not sponsored. Just
yeah. No. I think like something that we kind of touched on this earlier, but something that's important to realize when goal making and trying to reach those goals is it's okay to fall out and it's okay to make mistakes. Obviously that's not, sometimes I fall into the opposite where I'm like, okay, yeah, it's okay, I didn't read my Bible today, it's fine, and then I go on for a month. Like that's not cool. But I think also have grace for yourself to a certain extent. But I think one of like my biggest, this is a confession session for me, but one of my biggest flaws is like balance. So I think it's all about a balance of giving yourself grace, but also keeping that discipline and like, no, I know I'm exhausted today, but I'm going to go. But okay, maybe I really had a rough day and like, it's not going to happen today. Okay, tomorrow we get back on it, you know?
I think that's really important. It's like, and I think also, again, like back to like the faith aspect of it, like God sees that, like God understands, like, a lot of things when it's like, oh, reading your Bible, it's like, oh, like, then, like, I didn't do this, oh, like, God gave up on me, like, that's it, like, what's the point of me, like, keeping going? But, like, God sees that, God sees your work, and again, if you keep Him involved, something I really like to do, and I, like, wish I did this more, was keeping God constantly in my head. Like, all of my thoughts, I target them towards God. One of the things I learned was, like, when, like, you're thinking a thought, you finish it with God. So then it's really cool because it also makes sure like my thoughts glorify God.
Yeah.
When God is constantly there, you want to do things to please Him. So then that'll also be fulfilling your goals. And something Eva and I were talking about right before this too is like when we think about goals and like we were like, okay, what kind of goals are we going to talk about in this podcast? So then stay tuned. We have like a lot of different types of goals with guest speakers too in the next coming episodes. But we're like, it doesn't matter what the goal is, and I kind of touched on this in the beginning too. It doesn't really matter like what the goal is, as like running again. Back to running.
Well, Alice and I are going to be track stars by the end of the year.
Okay, yeah, we'll use the running example. I'm gonna keep my body that God provided with me healthy, so then I can use that body to help others. You know, it's things like that. So it's like all these different aspects can be used to glorify God, even if it's not, oh, I'm going to read my Bible, or I'm going to pray, I'm going to serve in church.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think goal making, I kind of touched on this in the beginning, but goal making is about who you're becoming as a person rather than checking boxes. I think sometimes I get so hooked on like, oh my gosh, like I didn't pray like 3 times this month or whatever. But it's like, okay, but thank God, like I'm serving, or I'm like, it's just, I think one of the biggest thing with making goals is being well-rounded. And it's like everything ties back to being a more, godly person and being more in his image. And I think I heard this quote this morning that was like, our entire purpose on earth is to know Christ and to make him known. And I think that's so important, and it literally applies to everything. Like I can apply that to back to working out. Like, okay, I'm gonna know Christ by, like Alice was saying, like getting fit or whatever, to go and serve. And I can use, learning a new skill, like designing or writing or cooking or whatever, to serve others and to make, a meal for others, or to write about God or design, whatever.
Yeah, I think you touched on a really good idea too, where it's like, use what you love. Like use your talents and those, like incorporate those into your goals.
Exactly, yeah.
It'll encourage you too. You love painting, like paint something, and then maybe you want to start a business. Tie the two together. Maybe you can even tie your faith in, like make paintings, like Christian paintings, something. So that way you're doing what you love. You're like encouraged to do your goals, because if you create goals of things like you're not excited about, you're not gonna do them, and it might even like hurt the chances of you doing your other goals. So make sure you're also like doing things you love besides just checking off the boxes.
Yeah. And I think there's some things that like, especially with like spiritual life, that maybe you don't love them, but like it's necessary. Right. Like maybe I don't love reading my Bible. I love reading my Bible, but like, okay, maybe I don't love like praying. Like I just struggle to give God like a solid like hour, 10 minutes, whatever. So I can like customize it, to me. So I'll, come to God with just an open heart and be like, God, like I really don't like, it's just hard for me to come to you and like talk, and have a conversation. So maybe tomorrow I'll challenge myself to, pray for 10 minutes before I go to bed. And again, like those simple small steps toward, maybe an hour, or reading the Bible, like start with a couple verses and then, 1 chapter, whatever. But I think just making it something you enjoy, like maybe, okay, something that has really helped me with prayer specifically is journaling. I love writing. It's like my life's passion. So something I've done is I've journaled my prayers, and I call it like letters to God. And it's basically just like as if I'm texting Alice. Well, not exactly, but like, but on paper. So that way it's not like having a conversation and then I struggle with like, is he really listening? Okay, I'm just writing it down. And then, I pick up my Bible, and I love, back to aesthetics, like annotating my Bible and making it look all pretty. And that has helped me. And journaling, I'm going to go off on a tangent. I just love journaling so much, because I've literally gone through my journals from like 5 years ago and just seen how God is like completely flipped my life upside down and like changed so much, good and bad. But it's so cool to be like, okay, at that point I was really struggling with, school. And now look where I am in school. Or I was really struggling to understand this characteristic of God. And now like that's my favorite part, So I think that's important with goal making too, because it's like, okay, I made it a goal in the beginning of the year. I was struggling with, praying. And then at the end of the year, I can see in my journal, like, oh my gosh, God, you're so good, like a prayer, Right. So obviously journaling is not for everyone, but like find your niche, even if it's like singing. Like Alice and I both love singing. So if it's singing or even like a sport, you can glorify God in that. So yeah.
No, something I was actually reflecting on the other day. So I was like, Okay, I do like journaling. It's just hard for me to like sit down and get done. But I was like, what if daily I write one sentence down. It'll take me like 30 seconds. My favorite part of the day, something important that happened in the day. And actually, I used to journal a lot more than I did. So then, I opened up my journals from 4 years ago, I think. And I went in and I opened it. As I was reading, I wrote little notes of something I was stressed about, or something I was reflecting on. And I wrote little notes. I'm like, oh, well, now this happened. And it just, it's so cool. Like Ava was saying, to like look back and you're like, wow, like look how far I've come. And I think like a big thing is like while you're fulfilling your goals, it's like, is my future self gonna be proud? Like,
yeah.
Like setting your life up for your future self. Like it's such a cool idea to think about. You're like, wow, like if I fulfill this goal a year from now, my life could be completely transformed, you know?
Yeah. I liked what you said about writing one thing a day. I saw something the other day that was like, at the beginning of the year, and I'm going to do it. Guys, hold me accountable, please. At the beginning of the year, have a jar, and every day, actually it said every week, but I kind of want to do it every day, so I have 365. But write something good or some way you saw God that day. And at the end of the year, reflect on his goodness through like all the 52 or 365 little slips. And like, it's something so simple and so not time consuming.
Right.
I'm probably still gonna make an excuse to like be tired or whatever, but it's something that like something small that you can offer God and also helps yourself, obviously.
I like that a lot. Then I think Ava was like, oh, keep me accountable. I think it's so important too. I think something I liked to do was last year when I wrote all my goals down, I shared them all with my family. So I think that's something that's really full. Some goals maybe more personal to you, and if you don't want to share those, like it's fine. But if you have your goals and you share it with your friend, and maybe you could do like weekly meetings. You're like, okay, how are you fulfilling this goal? Oh, here's a way you could fulfill this goal. Like stuff like that. Or again, back to think like more service. Do service with your friend. Plan things out. When you have somebody keeping you accountable, I'm pretty sure there's some sort of percentage of like how more likely you're gonna do.
Yeah. But. No, yeah. Grateful for this girl to keep me accountable always. I think overall, like just to kind of wrap up everything we've said, I think the main thing is just like it's okay to fail, but stay disciplined.
Right.
And just like make small steps. I think that's something I need to learn.
I know.
Because I'm like, Alice will be the first one to tell you guys, I'm like, if I have an idea, I'm like starting a company today. Like,
when this podcast was first starting, I was like in the middle of finals week, and he was like, okay, I made the Instagram, I have the Canva set up, let's meet up, and I was like, wow, okay. But like honestly, like that's amazing. Like even if you can see, that's like back to the thing, like if you're so passionate about something, like you're willing to put that effort in. I think that's
but also don't rush yourself, because I've learned the hard way that you will get burnt out really easily.
I think whatever you do, make sure it's backed up by, is this God's will? And if it is, and you're willing to put the work in, God's got it. God's got it. And if you keep him constantly in your head, it's so cool when you have him constantly in your head, you can see like the little ways he works. Like, and it's also a good way to keep him like more involved in your life.
I love that tip you gave towards the beginning of like saying God at the end of every thought. Like sometimes I forget, I don't say that after every thought, I'm gonna be honest, but sometimes I'll just be driving, I'm like, God, this car is tailgating majorly.
Right. Oh, I was doing that.
I'm like, what the heck? Or like even keeping like a picture like in your car or like in your room. Like I have one on my desk and like on my like near my in my car. I don't know how to describe it, but just I think there's a lot of power in putting an image to the name. I love looking at the picture of like the crucifix, especially in my struggles, because I'm like, oh my gosh, like how am I complaining about this, you know? So I think just keeping him at the center and like always praying, and I think abiding in his word is like the biggest thing that I've really learned this year, because it's like every situation now I'm like, oh, but you know, Esther was nervous when she has it, you know, and literally before this podcast, I was like, oh my gosh, God, like I'm not a good speaker, you know, I'm not good at that. But then I thought of like Moses and how he had a literal speech impediment, and God was like, no, I'm going to use you. So it's like having those stories and like verses in front of you and in your head is like super helpful.
That's beautiful. I really like that. Yeah, I like thinking of God as like my built-in best friend. Like it's like something happens and it's like, okay, God, like why did that just happen? Or oh, that was annoying. Like
Yeah.
it's stuff like that. And again, like you can see the way he works. I've said this so many times just because it's like such a big deal for me, but it's really cool, and I like highly recommend it to anybody.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. We will continue with this series on rethinking resolutions for the next 3 weeks. Thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Bye, Rubies.